Hi, good evening. It's Jim from Avstar Observatory. I had a bit of an experience yesterday morning, which I'm going to share with you guys after a bit of contemplation today on whether I should or not or whatever. But before we do, I just want to say big thanks to those few yesterday that pledged a bit of support for the observatory, and for some reason the messages are increasing with those, and the messages are very encouraging. And they're very warm and welcomed. They're just great guys. So I really enjoy that, and thanks for the support. Generally, they are just supporting me, saying keep doing what you're doing, and we're with you, Gene, 100%. So okay, we'll get on with it. So first of all, I want to tell you something a little bit later on, in my view, which may be possibly. It's my view, so I'm just going to say it. I think it's the only way you've got to go about, getting through, some hardships if they come in the near future. If we face a global catastrophe and a catalysm, then this might be the only way forward for you. And I'll share that a bit later. But I just want to, share a bit of an experience I had yesterday. You've probably noticed in the previous videos that I've been doing, I've not been able to help myself but cough a lot. And I thought it was COVID-19. If you've been watching the videos, I had the test, it come back negative, and I thought, well, this has been going on now for 5 or 6 weeks, getting worse and worse, up until the point yesterday where, in my view, it just reached, a crescendo. And it really frightened me. I'll tell you what happened. Woke up as normal, had a coffee, and then had a serious coughing fit. Couldn't control it. It almost got to the point where I was almost heaving because of the amount I was coughing. Anyhow, I got so much phlegm in my mouth that I went to the toilet and spat it out, and then noticed blood. It was like pink blood, so obviously diluted. And then the coughing continued. And it got darker and darker, and almost to the point where, if you cut your hand and the blood ran out of it, it was like that. And then, it made me sick. And the bottom of the pan in the toilet was just filled with blood. At this point, my hands were shaking. Because I'm thinking right now, you're dying, Gene. You need to call someone, or, I think you may even need to call an ambulance for yourself at this point. And then, for about 20 minutes after, kept coughing and more blood was coming up. There was like clots of blood. I'm thinking, this is it. So I don't know why this was. I went to the bathroom. I thought I need to clean myself up, have a wash and compose myself. And I'm looking in the mirror. I'm thinking, if you're going to call an ambulance, which I really would never do. I've never called an ambulance for myself. And, if I was going to call an ambulance for myself, to save the embarrassment of the neighbours watching me come out of the house and get into an ambulance, I'd rather walk up the end of the street and, round the corner and then get in the ambulance. But I'm looking at myself, I'm thinking, you need a shave and you need to get a shower, because at any moment now you're probably going to feel like you're going to pass out, because simply the amount of blood that I saw in the toilet, I'm thinking, I'm dying. So, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, my hands are shaking, I'm thinking, I need a shave, I need to have a shower, I need to brush my teeth, I need to put some clean clothes on, because I'm going to be going to hospital any minute now. So, the next thing I'm doing, I'm shaving, I'm getting in the shower, I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm preparing myself to, do that call I don't want to make, and, face reality. Perhaps, this is it. I mean, that's how frightened I was, to be honest. So, after I've got myself all cleaned up, ready to go, my hands have suddenly stopped shaking, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at the clock, it's 8:30, about 8:15. I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking maybe I should call the doctors first. I'm not feeling like I'm going to pass out, so maybe I should call the doctors. So that I call the doctors and they give me an appointment to see somebody at 11 o'clock. And I'm just trying to compose myself, keep myself calm and not cough at all. So I'm just sipping water. I'm still coughing though. I can't control it. I'm still coughing, and I keep going into the bathroom to spit it out to see if the blood's still coming, and it is. It's frightening me. So I go to the doctors. They check me over. They said there's a couple of really serious flags that have been raised. One, I'm coughing up blood, and the other is the weight loss. I've lost over 1 kilo or something in the last 5 or so weeks. So, and she's really concerned about it, the doctor is. She says, I've checked you over, your heart's good, your lungs seem clear, your blood pressures and all your stats are okay, but we want to get you x-rayed, get a chest x-ray on you and just make sure you're okay. So, I spend the rest of the afternoon in hospital having a chest x-ray and getting that done, and I'm sitting in the car park a bit later on, just thinking about the events of the morning, thinking, it could have been it. That could have been the end. Because that's how I really felt as all this was happening on the morning. And it's really probably the first experience I've ever had of anything like that. It's really frightened me to that point. The other thing I did do was call my parents. I spoke to my mum on the morning. I just explained briefly what was happening, and I asked her not to tell my father because he's a bit of a panicker. I just said, just in case, this is what's happening, and I've got an appointment with the doctor, and I'll let you know as soon as I aware of what the problem is. So a bit on that afternoon, I'm sitting out at the hospital. I did give my mum a call and told her, that everything's okay. I've had an x-ray and we're just waiting on the results of that. But you know what? I just can't believe everybody else is getting COVID-19, and what it seems to be the case I've had is pneumonia. What are the chances of that? So, that's where we are, and apparently they don't give you nothing for it. No antibiotics, nothing. They just recommend you take some lozenges, which will help ease the coughing, because apparently the continuous coughing is what's causing, probably, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but maybe ruptures in the lungs, which are causing them to bleed, and therefore you start to bring up this blood. But it really frightened me. So you've probably been in a similar situation to me as that. So, I think it's the time to tell you what I really think about what is the safe place to put yourself in if we are going to experience, as we know we are on the fringe of, and as we know we're in the midst of a pole reversal of what perhaps, in the extreme circumstances that you should take to preserve your own continuity and your family's continuity. And the only thing I can think of, and it's not just been a spur of the moment thought, this is something that I've been thinking of for a long time. The only thing I can think of that would be probably a really good solution, not the best. I'm not claiming to have the best solution. Some people say grow your own food. Well, that's all well and good until the grain freeze is over, isn't it? If we do enter another glacial period, what good's that going to do you? If you can get to, a different climate, then put your seeds in the ground and grow them. That's all well and good. But if the entire northern hemisphere freezes over in a short space of time, then that plan for you is going to be no good. If you've got crops in the ground that you're waiting to harvest and the ground freezes over, they're not going to mature. And, you're going to be in the same situation as probably a lot of farmers have been already, that have lost their livelihoods, lost their heritage of farmland that has been passed down from generation to them. And you're going to be in the same situation as what your ancestors have been in, your ancient ancestors. We've seen it all around the world. Cities, small micro cities that are formed because they've mastered the art of agriculture, and they've been able to sustain numbers in small spaces. Just like we have now today, only on a grand scale. We've seen it come unstuck 2 weeks ago in Texas, when Texas had a 1 in a 30 year Arctic snap, which devastated the grid and brought devastation to 100 million people. 100 million people. That gives us an example of what possibly is to come. Excuse me, I can't help it, guys. What is my solution then? It may not be for you. At the end of the day, you take your chances. You roll your dice, and what comes out of it comes out of it. It's entirely up to you. But you're probably sitting on a bit of equity in a property at the moment, and you're probably looking around you and thinking, you need to get into something else. Well, you know what I would probably invest that money into? I'd probably sell that property. And, this is probably going to come with a bit of shock to you, but I would buy a sailing yacht. And they're not extremely expensive. You don't have to have one of these £1 million ones. You can pick them up for $75,000 in reasonable condition. You can add, a few $1,000s to that to get yourself some, to renew the rigging, get it, in a mint condition and perfectly seaworthy. And at this point in time, you can, learn the skills of, circumnavigating this earth. What this does is alleviate a lot of problems. You can load that up for 3 months at a time with food. You can have desalination, water purification on board, which a lot of these yachts have now. There's plenty of channels on YouTube you can watch where families are already doing this. And you can do this together as, a company of other families and form your own flotilla. And what this does is enable you to maneuver to different climates. And it also enables you to leave the continents where, if a circumstance like, a rapid glaciation of the planet turns up, first of all, you won't be allowed to leave the country that you're residing in. And it allows you to get on board your yacht and leave that country at that point in time. I think most people will have an indication of when to get on board that and leave. I mean, some of you may be in a position to buy the yacht now and also live in your house, and some of you may not be able to afford to even do that. And I'm going to say this, and it's not, I'm not advising you. I've got to say that as a disclaimer, really. Excuse me. Excuse me, please. I'm not advising you to do this, but if you are without funds to buy something, and it is a matter of life and death, then I think you can use your imagination of what you need to do, and that just requires a little bit of surveillance of a few local harbours where you could possibly, bob one for yourselves and your family in the time of emergency. Yeah, you get caught, you're probably going to end up in a lot of trouble, and I wouldn't recommend you do that. Obviously, I've got to say that as a disclaimer. I wouldn't recommend you do that. But, you know, I want to give each and every one of you an opportunity of probably a best solution. The point is, if you're on land with, you know, like most countries will be, sharing the earth at that point in time of crisis, 7 billion souls, what will happen is nothing short of hell on earth. You know, they only went 2 weeks without electric in Texas, and for a lot of people it was too much already. You know, if it was a real serious scenario and all of the states of the United States experienced that same thing, as well as Canada and the rest of Europe, you know, and other parts of the Northern Hemisphere, it wouldn't be an attractive place to be on Earth. Let's just put it that way. So you've got to do what you've got to do at the end of the day. If you're on land, your odds are against you, because you're with, if you're like in the United States, 300 million people, UK 70 million people, you know, your competitiveness is against that amount of people. So you have to think about that. And, you know, if you're on the ocean, you have a source of food, so you can catch pretty much what you need to eat. You can have your food stock on there as well of 3 months, which you don't need to use if you're already catching food. And let's face it, you don't need bait even, guys. And if what you do catch, the parts of the fish that you don't eat, you can put back in as bait in any case. But, you know, in most circumstances, a shiny lure will, you know, encourage a fish to go for it. So you can eat, and you can prolong that 3-month food storage. You know, you can probably have a small amount of silver and gold on you, and you know, you can migrate to a part of the earth which is habitable and maybe welcoming at that point. But if for the first 2 months you're on that continent with all the other people that are struggling and fighting over each other's goods that they have, and they will do, trust me guys, government continuity won't be able to contain half the trouble that will be there. They will call the military in and everything they can possibly do, but in general what they will do in the end is tell you to stay in your home, and they will put curfews on people leaving their homes, and they will pretty much leave you to dehydrate and starve to death, because they have not prepared for this event that is coming. You think it's probably never going to happen, and you know, I can understand how you can think like that, but you need to do a little bit of research. Why was these cities abandoned? These great cities that had great structures, like the Mayan cities, why were they abandoned? Just like why did they leave these structures? And you know, why didn't they thrive like, you know, like New York has grew up over the last 200 years into what it is today? Why didn't the cities in the Mayan times do that? What changed dramatically that made them leave almost overnight? These are the things, you know, I just felt I had to share with you guys. You know, my best contingency plan would be a yacht. And I haven't got the money even to buy one myself, so, you know, I'm probably going to be one of you guys out there, you know, at the last minute, prepared to bob one for myself and a few loved ones. But I do not want to spend 2 weeks on a continent, you know, when everything has gone so wrong, and the only possible outcome is a mass reduction in numbers, because I know that if I'm on there, that mass reduction numbers will include me. So I don't want to be that. I would rather take my chances on the oceans. So I just thought I'd share those thoughts with you guys. And I'll just mention there's a link down there if you want to support our observatory. And there's a link also on the website as well, which very few people click on. And I'll just say one other thing: take care of your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.